Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be reviewing another interesting game that I watched on the Fox Go server between two top professionals. The reason why I want to look at this game, or why I find this game interesting, is similar to the last game that I reviewed in this series. If you haven't watched that video, check it out. It was between Shin Jinseo and Kim Myounghoon. That is one of my favorite games I have seen in a very long time. And the main reason for that is the emphasis on shape. And how even at the top level, shape still does matter. Even though AIs have said no, Sente is more important, right? So you could play a slow shape move, or you could play a quick, fast attachment, or you could just take Sente, or many other things. That game really emphasized shape. And I think if you can master shape, it'll help in the long run a lot. And similar to that, the reason why I find this game interesting is this game also emphasizes on shape, but somehow feels a lot different. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean this game, compared to the Shin and Kim game, is very fighty, is very aggressive. And so I wanted to highlight that. There's a lot to learn from this game. The two professionals are Tan Zhao as white and Kang Yootaek as black. Without further ado, let's jump into the game. And we even get on the, I guess, seventh move, a pretty how do I want to say it? A pretty unorthodox opening. You see this formation here whenever you see mini Chinese. Mini Chinese would be something like this, where this is the spacing you see, where it's 4 from the 3-4 spot. But I've never seen it like this. So again, specifically why black played it, I'm not sure. But to me, this feels like a very natural move, or even just fixing the corner itself. But yeah, specifically why this on the right side. I'm sure a move on the right side can't be bad, but it's just this specific move is very unorthodox. Maybe I'll try it in my next few games, but I can't say I've seen this ever, honestly. White takes F17, sure, and then black attaches, yes. And the thing with this attachment is, if I get into all the minutia, not only would I not be able to do it full justice in explaining it, but it would take up, it could be a whole video. It would take up like 30 minutes of this video. So I'll just say, point of attaching. Well, one, the attachment has become popular, as I'm sure you can guess, because of AIs. And it's, if white just, let's say, connects solidly, the idea with any of these attachments towards Shamaris is that, okay, if my opponent's going to get that corner anyways, I'm going to make them play a lot of inefficient moves to make sure they want it. So you can see here, when white adds these two stones here at C6 and C5, it's not like white has gained any points at all. Whereas these two black stones on the outside can, right now they might not have any value, but can be used efficiently. And it's not like if white keeps going after them, again, it's not like white's gaining a lot. So that's the whole idea with any of these sort of attachments, is we're trying to keep white into the corner. Which is why you generally see these attachments to the Shamaris early on, because right now it's hard to decide what white wants when the left side or the bottom side has not been filled up. It's kind of like the early 3-3s. When you 3-3, like right here, it's hard to decide for white which way to block. But if white, let's say, or even here, I mean, right, which way could white block? It's hard to say. But if white already had, let's say, a Joseki here, right, something like this, well, which way do you think white is going to block now? We could play at the top. So that's why you see these early attachments. And that's kind of the crux of it. Now, again, this specific variation is one of the more fighty variations. But every move, if you slow this down and dissect it, will make sense. But I'm just not going to delve into that in this video, because that's not the highlight for this video. The highlight will be the middle game, and you'll see why. Black turns, Han hit the head of 2 stones, white jumps, and then black goes to the left side. White pincers and can't get sealed in. D11 looks like a great spot for white to get, so black has to keep separated. White goes for the center, or fixes the shape in the center, I mean. But since white ignored this move, black answers, and then white jumps. So now I'm going to ask you, how valuable are these 4 stones? How valuable are these 4 stones? What do you think? Because by itself, if you consider black only has, let's see, 4, 8, what is that, 13 stones? 14 stones, maybe? Well, these 2 stones are dead, so yeah, 13 stones on the board. Then 4 of them is, 3/4 of, or 2/3 of those stones, or 1/3 of those stones, sorry. Which feels like a lot, right? So the question is that actually true? Is that actually true? So it's not about the amount of stones, it's about what they are accomplishing. So the problem with these 4 stones is they are hard to make points with if you cannot sufficiently attack the center. So let's say you wanted to keep these stones alive, right? So maybe you jump. Well, if you're just going to be jumping, white's going to be ahead in the running fight. And the problem with what's going on the bottom, and not saying white would just jump like this, but just for example, you have to play a move on the bottom to secure the points, right? Because white is so solid in the lower left, it's hard to make points on the bottom. If we ever keep trying to solidify the bottom, if white ever just extends, there's just nothing you can do. And so you can see, even if we get K3, directly our stones at 4 did not make us any points. But if we ever try to maybe jump down to try to use these stones, well, white will be able to come in somehow. So by itself, realistically, it's because of these stones here, these white stones here, it is hard to make points with those 4 stones. So instead, and this is true, if you have stones that you are planning to sacrifice them on a small scale. As in, make your opponent have to spend a lot of moves to take them. So in the game, black shoulder hits. Black shoulder hits. As opposed to just jumping and letting white stay ahead, black is trying to get ahead in the running fight. But white says, okay, I can separate you. And again, if you block and white cuts, you don't actually want to fight here. Your stones here are not, 1, they're weaker, but 2, they're not going to gain a lot of value. So black just jumps, which by itself is threatening to play the tiger's mouth there. So white pokes it out. Okay, where do you think black plays next? Black peeps next. And there's really only, again, white could try to refute by jumping here or doing something, but this would leave a lot of bad aji. And again, sometimes it's better to just simplify things than to try to really try to fight back in a lot of scenarios. So white just connects. And now you're starting to see, okay, well, if white captures these 4 stones, it's now going to be on a small scale. Look at white's last 3 moves, right? Right next to the last move they played, right next to the last move they played, right next to the last move they played, right? White played these moves here. And while the value of black stones is by itself hard to see, these stones have more potential than the white stones. Yes, white is capturing these 4 stones, but that's all they're doing. These black stones are facing the bottom, they're facing the right side, maybe even facing the top. So I really like how black handled this. And black even plays P8 next. And the reason why P8, this kind of one-space jump from a 3rd line stone, we actually, I believe, even see it in the last interesting game between Shin and Kim, where I believe Shin, who is black in that game, played a one-space jump like this. The idea with it is, while we do have 2 areas we need to fix, right? We need to fix this kind of upper right area. We need to fix this lower right area. We could play a move like this, right? This would secure the lower right for now, but it does leave the right side completely wide open, right? White could even just shoulder hit, and there's not really anything you can do about this stone. And there's other moves too, R14, which goes after the corner a little bit. So this only helps the corner. Where if you do this, then similarly, white can just come in and that stone, again, at Q12, is not helping the lower right. So this is trying to help both sides. So let's say white comes in. Like, let's say we go here, right, and white comes in. Well, there's not really a good way we can attack this, right? If we just do this and white plays here, we can see our shape's just not very good. Even if we end up sealing in, our wall is going to be hard to use. But when we jump here and white comes in now our stones are working in unison. Stones that are on the same line, it's more of a feeling-based thing, but it's also true that stones on the same line have a better connection, have a better strength, as opposed to stones on a diagonal. Yeah. So you can see from here, since it's on the same line, it's very easy to seal white in now. Whereas again, before, if you try that, right, even white can maybe come out this way, and yeah, white's breaking out. So it's helping that side. But similarly, if you go here and white comes in, like the stone gets isolated. But if you played here and white comes in, then now you can maybe use the stone once again. So not only is the stone helping both possible invasions, but also, like for example, let's just say we give white the bottom, something like this. How would you play to protect the right side now? Would you play here? Well, if you played there, not that this is necessarily a bad move, but doesn't it feel almost inside black's potential there? Instead, you could play a move all the way out on the 6th line like this and really expand the right side. The reason we can play this? Because of P8. If we had started with Q12, well, notice now how can we expand the right side? Well, we really can't, because we've really limited ourselves to Q12. So P8 is not only trying to help both sides, but also trying to expand on the largest scale possible. So similarly, let's say white plays something like this, right? And let's just say, okay, white's alive somehow. Well, now how can we play in the corner? Well, if we do this, again, this is not necessarily bad, but because we have an extra stone at P8, maybe we can ask for a little bit more. Maybe we can play O4. So that's the idea with these one-space jumps with stones that are almost extensions on a side on the 3rd line. This is the whole idea with them, or with this move here, is you're trying to build both sides as efficiently as possible, as well as helping both sides. So white goes here. Now, the reason why white goes here is, as opposed to just playing here, kind of like what I was showing, but also the bottom can actually build very quickly. So even if white gets some sort of variation like this, if black just... Ooh, it's hard to pick one move. There's sometimes a problem where if you have so many good moves, it's hard to pick one. But say black goes here, the bottom side actually grows very rapidly. So instead of, like in this case, you can see black is using these stones here. Instead, white is trying to isolate them. And you can see if black plays here, it's not that white's going to go after just one stone, right? These almost peeps. This one was a peep. This one wasn't necessarily a peep, but any stones that are right up against your opponent's thickness like this, they are expendable. You should not care about them. So if white wants to go after that one stone, you should let them. Instead, though, white can go after the whole thing. White can poke here. Now you kind of have to save it, right? You can't just let white separate here like this. This would be too much. So you have to kind of connect. And now you can see now black's the one getting counterattacked all of a sudden. And this is pretty painful. This is pretty painful. Because it would mean that right side we were trying to build, because we are under attack, not only are we not making any points, but the right side's completely open now. So that's why black plays from this side, allowing white to attach, and black just simply hanes and connects. And white connects. So this is very, very simple fighting almost, where neither side's really testing their luck, if you will. Like black could try to go this way, but yeah, letting white into the corner maybe isn't so good. Yeah. So play that, connect, and then black plays here. Yep. Not only helping the bottom side stones make a base, but also threatening to activate these 4 stones. Now white pushes, because now when black pulls back, right before, if white were to push, black can jump, right? So black's shape here is very good. In this case, obviously if black jumps now, L4 becomes a very bad move, just outright, right? It's just not doing so much. So now black's shape gets a little bit worse, a little inefficient now. So this is good timing by white. And then white kicks, yes. Trying to expand a base, but also just trying to over-concentrate black, like this. Black jumps down though. This is a nice, more efficient way of doing it, as opposed to just blocking and letting white get this Hane, where not only white can make a ko shape to make two eyes, but also just connect is just a slightly bigger base. This is just eking out a little bit extra. You can do this when your opponent pushes, you've already fixed one of the cuts, right? The cut on the outside. So white goes there, and black just answers. And then white descends. And black plays here. So black finally saves those 4 stones. And basically the rest of this game is what can black do against this white group in the center. Now I'm sure a lot of you have seen pro games. I'm sure white's going to play some inefficient moves in the center just to live. And we'll go from there, right? No, this game really starts to heat up. White pushes. And then black even jumps. This move is surprising to me because I'm not sure why. If we assume this kind of move is sente, which is not always sente, but if black's trying to attack, this is probably sente. But even this move's not necessary. I'm not sure why white doesn't go here. Because if black even cuts here, that's a good exchange for white. I think at least. This completely settles the bottom. Separates this L2 stone, so white's taking out a lot of points here. If black tries to surround, then again, if this move is sente and black has to fix, again, maybe black thinks just giving up 4 is okay, but if black tries to connect, then obviously there's a weakness here. Now, the thing with this weakness is that there is some reading involved, but again, I'm assuming these 9Ps did read this out, but this wedge here, white needs to be careful. If you immediately Atari, you might think, okay, black can connect and I can connect and I'm okay. But black can Atari here and create a snapback. So obviously this would be bad for white. But white has time to go here. And so if black blocks, then white can Atari. And technically there's a potential ko here, but this is a huge ko. This is a very huge ko. So, and basically flower ko for white. White's not losing anything if white plays this. Yeah, and even if white wants to prepare, white can push here once, or there's timing. Maybe white pushes like here, right? Something. But regardless, there's some sort of ko here if black wants it, which this seems pretty good for white. So again, I'm sure the pros are seeing something I'm not, but I would really try to get this move. Yeah, especially if, oh, black, you're trying to attack me. Well, then you kind of have to answer this. White just jumps out. Very important when you are the one getting attacked to play moves that can't be separated. So let's see. Can this move get separated? Because we are running with scissors, right? We are playing in the center of the board. So can we be cut if black goes this way? Well, there's a weakness here at K7, so black gets captured. But the fun one is this one. This is the fun one, if you will. Because if we actually push here and black cuts, we actually can't capture this cutting stone. And again, this is very risky for black because there's a lot of bad aji here. Again, not only with this into this, but just with you'll see if black tries to make everything live. All this is forcing. You can see there's just a lot of bad aji here for black. So maybe it's just too risky for black. But white has an easy way to avoid this. If we imagine this move is sente, which again, getting sealed off on the bottom is not great, and letting white basically connect the two groups isn't great. So black will probably answer, and now instead of playing here, we can simply play at K8. So because K6 is sente, black cannot separate. But we don't necessarily want to play this, because maybe this is a bad exchange. So yeah, that's why white can do this because of those because of K6. So then black answers by extending. White pushes and answers, yes. And then white jumps here, yep. Not much thought needed. Can't let white get R5, so black answers. And now we get to one of my favorite or maybe not one of my favorite, but one of my like things I always try to mention when possible with my students and in my videos is how do we fix this push and cut? Because if we go elsewhere, there is a push and cut here, right? So we need to fix this somehow. But if we just fix it like this and black connects, Q5 is only doing one thing. So it's inefficient. So whenever you are trying to accomplish anything in Go, you got to try to be more efficient. Even having a move do two things compared to one makes a world of difference. So what I always say is imagine your opponent has pushed already. So let's say black has done this, but they have not answered, or they have not cut, I mean. Now, at this stage, how would you fix? How would you fix now? There's many ways you could fix like this. 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 You could fix even like this, right? All these moves fix this cut. So these are the moves you want to consider. So at this stage, those are the moves you want to consider. So that means, okay, maybe we want to play this one. Sorry, not that one, this one. Maybe we want to play this one. We want to play this one, etc. And so white decided out of all of them, this would be the one that's most efficient because it is fixing that cut, but also threatening to poke through. Whereas again, if you do this, it's just protecting the cut. But this is protecting the cut, but also threatening to almost connect back to the center as well, but kind of break through black's shape here. And black has to be somewhat careful. Like if black just connects and then let's say push, let's just say these are sente. There's real problems down here with this kind of push and then playing here. So yeah, black has to be careful about this group on the bottom. So yeah, black doesn't want to get necessarily sealed in either. So black answers, but this allows white to go here. So even if you played a move like this, right? Black answers. Again, it's better than just playing Q5, but you're not threatening as much, right? If you end up playing here anyways, then it's like you did this, and when black fixed, you went here. So it's still not that efficient. So yeah, O7, very good move. Black blocks, so white can descend. But all of black's kind of plan here, again, it has to do with this left side. Because, again, this move is keeping white separated. So even though black's corner gets cut off, black plays here. And just look at this shape here. Large knights with the one space jump. This is the perfect shape. This is the perfect shape. So white says, okay, you can have the center. I'm not scared. White just peeps and then plays the diagonal. This is threatening the corner. So black fixes the corner. I am not sure why. This is another confusion I have. Why white doesn't go here at least. Because black has to block and then you get S7 anyways. And even if black Ataris, it's still sente towards the bottom side. So black has to answer. And then we get white's move in the game anyways, which is S9. But we have reduced black down a little bit. And it's not like black can Atari this way, or peep this way, I mean, because after this, there's no way to live in the corner. So, yeah. Doing this, you see black gets S5, and then white gets to jump anyways. So again, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure they have a good reason. I'm just not seeing it. And this is also good order of moves, because if you did this first and then went here, and black does something else, well, if you peep here, black is a lot less likely to answer that, because you've just played a bunch of second line moves. What's the value in connecting the stone? But by starting with this, well, now black really has to answer by connecting. There's really no other move to play. So this is a good order of moves. We've forced black to connect, so now black is heavier there. But then black caps. And again, I talked about it early on, or when I was kind of prefacing this game, but the shapes in this game are, while they're a lot more fighty, because you can see there's a lot of, like especially white shape here, the shapes here, right, just 4 stones there like that. the shapes here are quite nice. The large knights and 1 space jump, 2 space, table. Like, this is good stuff. This is really good stuff. White comes out, and black hanes. Black just connects. White pushes. The point of this push right now is what I was illustrating earlier, is that push is not always going to be sente. So let's say if you do something else as white, let's say even just extend here, and black goes here, well, this move is not always sente. So if this isn't sente, and black can just live here, these 2 stones are cut off in the center, and I'm not really getting much here. So that's why white now decides to push, and now white is fully connected in the center. So white pushes, and then black plays here. So once again, very nice move. As opposed to just going after just the 1 stone, black is allowing white to connect, but if white connects, then jump. So again, I really like this sequence too. Threaten to push, and then jump. And now white plays out. Black just hanes. Black plays here. Yeah, again, I think the reason why black played here right now is what I was showing earlier of this peep into here. Even if black has to exchange this, white getting F2 and sente is quite big. Yeah. And it even means like later, if this is sente, then like black doesn't have an eye there. So I can see why black played it, but yeah, the timing just, it's big. It is big. I shouldn't say anything. It is very big. You threaten to make an eye here now. I would think about pushing and cutting first. Yeah, it's just, why now? Why do all the hard stuff and then play there? But it makes sense. It does make sense once I see it. Black plays there, but white peeps and then comes in. Yeah, and this move is, whew, white is brave. White is very brave. Yeah, and it's interesting because even if black can separate with maybe a move like this, the problem becomes if white starts to play these attachments, this stone at R13 is going to affect the upper right somehow, right? Even if we get this variation, we can see this stone's in a very nice place, and black does need to be careful about getting separated. Or just getting separated from the upper right. It's already separated from the bottom, so that's why in the game, black simply just pushes, because pushing here also continues to apply pressure in the center. White just connects, black pushes, and white just answers. Yeah, because there was still Aji of playing this way. Yeah, what's the better way to do it? If we do it this way, yeah, we definitely have a code this way. Yeah, would this be yeah, there's just very bad Achi here. White still needs to live on the bottom too, so it's not like white can just go after the side. But if we play here, black can connect. And throw-in is coming. And this again would be some sort of flower code for black. And the problem is, once again, when you have the weak group on the board, aka the center, you can't really fight co's. So yeah, white would have some problems here. But so I'm not really sure why black doesn't do that. If white does it this way, white saves a liberty, but so maybe it is slightly better, but it feels very similar. There's still a throw-in possibility, and yeah. So not 100% sure why black pushed first. Obviously still going to be a good move, because white has to come back and connect anyways, but yeah, I'd be tempted to do that. Like, I'm not sure how getting S8 now helped black, but okay. Jump, because black, again, everything black has been doing has been looking at the center. So even all these moves here, white has to connect, going after the center. And look at black's shapes here, right? Large knights, 1 space, 2 space, 1 space, 1 space. Yeah, and again, white doesn't have 1 eye. So white's very confident in playing this way. White wedges, which usually I would just Atari, right, and then do this. But black says, well, because of my stones here, my shape's actually pretty nice. And again, I'd be looking at ways to help my center group. But white goes, no, I can turn. I can save these stones. And it has to do with because you've played a large knights here, before it didn't matter that much, but if you're not careful, large knights can be cut. So even when black connects and white extends, there is weakness here. So that's why black fixed. White jumps, black jumps, white jumps again. And let me just ask you, white is threatening to poke through this large knights here. How do you fix? And if you know your shapes, the move should come instantly. If you don't know your shapes, it might be harder to see, but you don't want to touch N14, but you need to help your connection. So what's the best way to do that? This move, the diagonal, yep. In fact, it's the exact same move black played here. Same kind of move. White even comes down. So this is what I mean, like white is like, okay, black, kill me. I dare you to try to kill me. Which, if I was black, I'd be feeling like pretty good that I would be able to. But it is very difficult. Again, you have problems with this can get separated here, and there's still a cut here at P9. You can capture this anytime. You got to be careful about your big bend here, where there's a double peep here. So, and there's Hanes here. White can potentially make eyes. So it is not super clear, but I would be very... when white plays J16, I would be happy like, oh, I can get something in your center. So black clamps, yes, this is, again, if we know our shapes, this is playing at the dog face shape, but also the table shape. Also clamping, it's a good technique. White bumps, black pulls back, yes. And white even fixes. White even saves those stones. And black peeps, and white even connects. White is so confident. I guess this is the power of reading, but I would be like, where are my eyes? I don't see my eyes. But black has to fix. And that's kind of the idea here is the reason why black went here as opposed to this, while this does connect black, is that white's already connected these stones. Because black can never wedge here because this is a double Atari. So that's the benefit of playing here. The downside of that, though, is white can still separate. So if white plays a move like this, then white can separate that side. So that's why black plays here, which is, once again, look at the shape here, right? And the shape in this game, while somehow being similar to the last game, is also very different because everything in the last game, there was some fighting in the last game. And again, by last game, I'm referring to the Kim game versus Shin game, which was the last game I reviewed for this interesting game series. Their shapes were more, I don't know, just everything in this game felt, or a lot of this game had to do with fighting, where in that game, it wasn't all about fighting. But it's the same shapes that you would see. So white wedges, and this is why white was playing so confidently with connecting here, because these stones here have a lot of liberties. And so what that means is, if black tries to save, there's a peep here. This is sente, right? This kind of move is sente as well, right? Gotta save these two stones, which means this kind of move is sente. If this kind of move is sente, then it means even if we Atari like this, because if we Atari, we might have been able to fix in sente, even if we can go here, and white has problems. But I don't think this move is sente because there's a weakness here. This is what white's looking at. This is what white's looking at. Where if you Atari this way, there's two weaknesses. So, and if you Atari this way, there's like, once again, two weaknesses. So, and I think I forgot to mention it, but this game was not a tournament game on Fox. This was just some 1 minute main time with it was either 15 seconds or 20-second Byoyomi, but regardless, very low amount of times to be able to actually read all of this out. Now again, they're professionals, so I shouldn't be too surprised, but still, this is very impressive that they were able to read the problems all here from this position. So black knows that, and not only have to read it, but also know what you're going to do about it. So black plays here. The idea with this move is if white just continues kind of lackadaisically, right, just like playing locally, well, now the board has changed. So if white tries to do the same thing, and you wedge now, well, now it's not going to work as well. Black's played somewhere else. So this is the whole, if something doesn't work locally, play somewhere nearby and try to connect them. Because you don't want to do this and then realize here it doesn't work, right? Because now you're going to give up more. So you have to do it right now, where even later you might be able to Atari this way. So it's very good timing. And so that's why when black Haned here, white just extended, but black was able to get into the corner. So black did get some profit out of this exchange. Hane, descend and descend, yes. And then white goes there. And now that once white has lived, the excitement of this game is it dies down a lot, but that's normal. It's endgame now. So I'm going to speed up the review a little bit. There's one thing here I want to mention. Black wants to save this L18 stone in Sente. And keep Sente, I should say. So black cuts, and when white Ataris, black doesn't answer because it's not Sente. So after this, now black goes elsewhere because now white doesn't have time to play M18. Because you might think, oh, if M18 and I take, well, white can still connect. So there could be some code there, but no, you can still actually descend still. And even if white takes, you can capture. So yeah, cut just to get Sente and then leave it. Hane's big, yes. Hane is there is big too, yep. And so that's why when white took, black connected. And then, yeah, throw in, black connected. Yes, there is just Aji here, plain and simple. Even if black can live in the corner, white will be able to capture these two stones, which are big. Yeah, they are very big. And if black goes here, white can descend, and this will be a lot of problem for black. You might think it's eye versus no eye, but when white pushes here, black can't make an eye. So it's a big problem for black, so black just connects there. Plays there, yep. Black has to connect, and yeah, they just kind of go into endgame. And it's always, even though I shouldn't be that surprised, because again, they are professionals, but it's always surprising, because they always make very, on the surface, strange decisions. Like, I would look at this, like a certain thing, and be like, oh, why didn't they just do it this way? This felt a lot easier. But obviously they have their reasons. But it always just feels like they're playing in certain ways that make the games more difficult than they have to be. And even with all that being said, it's a ridiculously close game. And you'll see how close it is when I tell you the score. But yeah, just playing endgame for now. But yeah, I really like this game because, once again, like the Shin and Kim game, emphasis was shape, but just used in a different way. And it's always remarkable to see how pros are using shapes compared to even strong amateurs like myself, where we think we're using shape well, but we could always be using it better as well. So, yep, that's kind of the end of the game, though. And let's just get to when they counted, because we are really at the end. Not much else left to see. At the end of the day, there we go. White won this game by half a point. Of course, right? It's always half a point with professionals, but yeah. White won by half a point. So even with all the attacking black was doing and all the groups white was making, and even black getting into the corner after giving up some stones in the center, it was half a point. Of course, right? As it always is. But yeah, super enjoyed this game. Super enjoyed this game. I have been following Tan Xiao a lot, or at least I've heard the name quite often, whereas Kang Yootaek, the black player, I have not seen as many of their games, but after seeing their play here, I really like their style. Again, I don't know if it's a one-off thing or if they like to play this way, but you know, they might have a new follower now, because I really liked how they played this game. But yeah, that was this game. I hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions or thoughts about the game, and I'll see you all in the next video.